The ANC's fifth policy conference begins tomorrow. The party is expected to discuss and review policies ahead of its elective conference later this year. We're joined by ANC national spokesperson Zizi Kodwa just to tell us what's going to be happening over the next couple of days. Zizi, good morning and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Of course, this is something you've done, like we say, for many years now, but a couple of challenges this year. You've got issues of factionalism, you've got issues like the leadership battle. You have set out the rules for this conference, considering these things and how they may influence what decisions are taken. What are the rules, basically, that you've set out for the next 5 days?
It won't be the first time that we go to a policy conference with challenges. Challenges is precisely, among other reasons, why we must go to a review of the policies. Because our policies must respond to existing material conditions. That's why they are always a subject of review. So each policy conference has got its own challenges. The challenges of today could be the issues we identified at the NGC in 2015. The influence of money, factionalism, gatekeeping, corruption. Those issues are at the heart of a credibility and integrity of a democratic state. Allegations currently about the state capture, for an example. There may not be an item about specifically about those issues, but they will constitute part of what the organization must discuss in the main, in terms of how does it renew itself, or in terms of organizational renewal. But at the same time, for us, this policy conference is an opportunity to self-correct. Among others, given the fact that over a period of time, since 2009, we've been noticing a decline in terms of the elections of the African National Congress. There could be other issues, both subjectively and objectively, the reasons for that. So we'll have the next 7 days, members of the African National Congress, 5,000 delegates, discussing those issues about, firstly, before you implement constructive and progressive policies, you need a strong ANC first. That's why the first 2 days, tomorrow and Saturday, we'll discuss the ANC. What nature, what character,
everything, all of these things. So you're not keeping factionalism out of it. You're not keeping the leadership race out of it. It's going to be discussed over the next 12
It's going to be a frank and honest discussion of the African National Congress, led by the presentation by the Secretary General of a report called the Diagnostic Report, which will look at the current challenges, both objectively and subjectively, facing the organization, but also presenting the solutions, which might be discussed by the delegates.
So what happens if you don't have agreement in those first 2 days? What happens with how you take it forward and actually get down to the business that you're there to do in terms of policy that you need to discuss, and that these factions and that these discussions and that these splits don't influence the discussions and the decisions that are supposed to come out of this?
Historically, the African the African National Congress historically is a debating organization democratically. At the end of it, we may disagree at the end of a discussion, but we always appreciate what brings us together. It's called the common purpose. The common purpose, among others, is to serve our people and lead the African National Congress in South Africa. And that common purpose requires organizational unity. So we may disagree in the interpretation because we're a robust and a democratic organization. But at the end, delegates of the African National Congress and members of the ANC do appreciate that first and foremost, you need a strong African National Congress. We've got a much more bigger responsibility to provide leadership to society. So we may disagree on many other things, including preferences of leadership, but we have a responsibility to lead and provide leadership and serve people of South Africa.
Well, also a statement coming out from Gwede Mentashe, your Secretary General, saying that there's been a decline, a serious decline in the quality of members recruited in the ranks of the ANC. He says, there's the ideology in the ANC. He says there's a decline in the ideology. Comrades begin to howl and use common sense that is not so common. So are you not worried that he's saying this, he's admitted it, that this is going to affect the quality of policy and the quality of decisions that will come out?
Part of the responsibility of a mass-based organization, such as an African National Congress, is that you can't only rely on quantity, you need quality.
Yes.
So if you have millions of members, as we do, it's important that we must equally invest on quality, because you need to, at least your members must be clear in terms of ideological outlook as an organization. In other words, who are you? Whom do you represent? In the contestation of ideologies in society, what exactly you represent. And therefore, if they are not clear ideologically, they may make a lot of mistakes.
That's what we're worried about. And it seems that the party itself is admitting
precisely that reason. That's why time to time, including this policy conference, must clarify ideologically our members, so that there are certain things we must do, there are certain things we must not do, even if I feel strong about certain views. But there are certain things I cannot say, there are certain things I cannot do, precisely because I'm a member of the African National Congress.
So you will thrash it out until everyone is...
We will make sure that a policy conference is part of a political school. It's part of political education. So members who gather over the next 7 days, they will also benefit in terms of understanding better what their organization represent and stand for.
Zizi, the leadership battle is something you definitely can't shy away from this time. And I mean, as much as you may put in rules to say that this has to be discussed, we can do it from September, it is going to be there. So some might ask you, why have two separate conferences? Because they seem to be interlinked, and we know leadership is going to creep in. It probably will creep in terms of who supports what type of policy, what stance do they take in terms of which person they're supporting for the next leader. So why not have this year have planned for these conferences to be a little closer together?
No, we don't have an item called election of leadership. The policy conference, in terms of the provisions in accordance with the ANC constitution, doesn't have powers to elect or to remove anybody. Its purpose is simply to discuss policy conference. If you make just a rewind over the past weekend, our provinces throughout the country met in the form of policy conferences and provincial general councils. And the maximum discipline displayed for us gives us assurance that we have indeed made a turn in terms of investing on political discipline. And we are not expecting anything except that our members are coming for one reason only, to come to Johannesburg over the next 2 days, 7 days, to discuss policies of the African National Congress. Leadership, we have not said people must pronounce, let alone the fact that there are those who might have pronounced, but nomination is only allowed in September. Those who come, including our structures, they are fully aware that they are not coming here to talk about preferential leadership, who preferred, but it's about policies of the African National Congress. But you know it's going to creep in, and you know it's going to be there. When that happens, we're a rule-based organization. That's why when we send out rules in terms of guidelines of what we expect, they understand. If you raise that issue won't be part of the agenda of the African.
But given what the general feeling is, this is that there is a state of crisis within the party. This year is what some are calling like the darkest time of the ANC in its democratic history.
Throughout history, the ANC has always faced difficult moments, and these challenges we face today are not insurmountable. And therefore, we must emerge out of this policy conference with the ANC that is stronger, that is capable enough to provide leadership, the ANC that inspire hope and must restore confidence among our people.
Okay, we'll wait and see what happens after Wednesday. We look forward to your feedback. Thanks very much. That's ANC National Spokesperson Zizi Kodwa just laying out what will happen over the next 5 days.